Welcome to the strange Casebook. On a hot afternoon in August of 1966, a boy is flying a kite on a steep, scrubby hill above the Brazilian city of Niterói, when the wind takes it down into the long grass. He goes to fetch it and finds two men. They are lying side by side on their backs, dressed in smart suits and new waterproof coats. And over the eyes of each man is a mask, cut roughly from sheet lead. There is no blood, no wound, no sign of a struggle. Just two well-dressed men on a hilltop, in lead masks, as though they had lain down to watch for something in the sky. This is one of the strangest files there is, and it is almost always told as a story about flying saucers. Tonight, I want to do something different. I want to give you the record, not the rumors, and show you that underneath the science fiction, there is a stranger and sadder case, and a failure that should never have happened. Let's begin with two ordinary men. Their names were Miguel Jose Viana and Manuel Pereira de Cruz, both in their 30s, both electronics technicians, careful, practical men who fixed televisions and radios for a living in the town of Campos dos Goitacazes, a few hours up the coast. They were not dreamers on the edge of society. They were skilled tradesmen with families and tools and the habit of doing things in the right order. On the 17th of August, they told their families they had to travel to buy some materials, equipment for the work. By one account, a car. By another. They took with them a real sum of money. They boarded a bus, and they rode south toward Niterói, across the bay from Rio de Janeiro. They arrived in the early afternoon, and for a few hours, we can still follow them. We know they went into a shop and bought 2 waterproof coats. There was a receipt. We know they stopped at a small bar and bought a single bottle of water. The woman who served them remembered Miguel clearly because something about him stayed with her. He seemed nervous. He kept glancing at his watch as though he were late for an appointment or waiting for a time to arrive. Then the 2 men walked out in the direction of the hill. And that is the last anyone saw them alive. The hill is called the Morro do Vintém, the hill of the old coin. It is steep and overgrown, and not the kind of place you climb in a good suit. It was 3 days later that the boy with the kite came over the top of it and found them, half hidden in the grass, exactly as they had lain down. And it was the things beside them that turned a tragedy into a riddle. The masks first. These were not costume masks, not theatrical. They were crude rectangles of lead, the soft, heavy metal you use to block radiation, shaped by hand to cover the eyes. 2 technicians had made eye shields out of lead and put them on and lain down. Whatever they expected to happen on that hill, they expected it to be bright enough or dangerous enough that they would need to protect their eyes from it. Beside them was the empty water bottle, a small packet holding 2 wet towels and a notebook. The notebook is the center of this whole case because in it, in plain handwriting, was a timetable. Not a diary. Instructions. It read more or less like this. 16:30, be at the agreed place. 18:30, swallow the capsules. After the effect, protect the metals and wait for the signal. Read it again, slowly, and feel how methodical it is. A time to arrive, a time to take something, a precaution, and then the whole point of the climb, to wait for a signal. These men did not wander up that hill and die. They followed a plan, step by step, to its very last line. So what were they waiting for? Here is where the legend takes over. The 2 men were said to be interested in spiritism and in the idea of making contact with intelligences not of this world. A local woman reported seeing a strange light, an oval object hanging over the hill around that evening. And from those pieces grew the story you have probably heard, that Miguel and Manuel climbed up there to meet something descending from the sky, and that the lead masks were to shield their eyes from its blinding light. It is a wonderful story, and it is exactly that, a story. Strip the saucers away, and what remains is somehow stranger. 2 rational, technical men came to believe completely that something would arrive at a fixed hour in a fixed place. And they prepared for it the way technicians prepare for anything, with timing and capsules and shielding laid out in a list. This case is not really about what was in the sky. It is about what was in their heads and how certain they were of it. And now, the part the flying saucer talk has buried for 60 years, the part that should make you angry. Because there was a way to learn at least one hard fact about that hill. The capsules. The men had swallowed something, on a schedule, deliberately. Find out what it was, and you would know a great deal about how they died. But no one ever did. The bodies had lain in the open for days before they were found, in the August heat. By the time of the autopsy, the internal organs were too decomposed for reliable testing. And the toxicology, the one examination that mattered, the test for what was in those capsules, was, by every account, never properly carried out at all. The evidence simply rotted, while the investigation chased lights in the sky. The cause of death was never determined, not because it was unknowable, because no one looked in time. That is the quiet horror of this case. We will almost certainly never know what Miguel and Manuel swallowed up there, whether it was a poison or a drug meant to open some inner door, or something they had been told would carry them somewhere. The answer was inside them, and it was allowed to disappear. Other threads were pulled and frayed. The money they carried was never found, and for a while there were whispers of robbery and murder no suspect, no motive, nothing that held. Every road runs out. And so, strip it all back, and here is what the casebook actually holds. 2 skilled, ordinary men who believed something so deeply that they put on their best suits, climbed a hill, made masks of lead to guard their eyes, swallowed capsules at an appointed minute, lay down side by side, and waited for a signal. We can tell you what they wore, and what they bought, and what they wrote. We cannot tell you what they were waiting for, or whether it was ever coming, or what stopped their hearts in the grass. The masks were meant to let them look, safely, at something the rest of us never saw. In the end, the only thing they shield is the truth. Until someone reads what was never read, the file stays open. I'll see you at the next. If you'd like to sit with more cases like this, subscribe. The file stays open.